And welcome everybody, this is Pastor Sherman Ray, and this is This Week in Prophecy. I want to welcome you all to the broadcast today. And we've got some late developing news. We're going to get to that in just a second. But this week has just been crazy, and we want to make sure everybody gets up to date. For those of you, this might be the first time you're watching the show. This is This Week in Prophecy. We talk about the revelation that God has been giving us all week long, and this is just kind of another one of those weeks. We want to encourage you that if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's like over here someplace. Go ahead and hit that YouTube subscribe button. If you're watching us on Godstream, definitely thank you so much for watching us on Godstream. And go ahead and hit subscribe to that Godstream channel. I'm actually I'm stalling here just a little bit. For some reason, our video for Pastor Newt got cut off here. So I'm gonna make you look good here, Newt, before we bring you on. Something happened here, but you're good now. And so my partner in crime here today is Aaron Newton here, resident prophet. Aaron, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, I'm good. It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you too.
Good. Doing well.
Yeah, this has been an incredible week, and as I was telling the folks before we got on here, that we've got some breaking developments that are happening in the Middle East. And for those of you who didn't check this out, we just got this on the news feed. This is an AP story that Iran has launched at least 180 missiles into Israel on Tuesday, the latest in a series of escalating attacks in a years-long conflict between Israel and Iran and its Arab allies. And I'm just reading this off the ticker right now, folks. And its allies that threaten to push the Middle East closer towards a region-wide war. I'm going to continue to read just a little bit. The orange glows of missiles streaked across Israel's night sky as air raid sirens sounded and residents scrambled into bomb shelters. Israel vowed retaliation for Iran's barrage, which it said has caused only a few injuries. So, Aaron, this is just a developing news. It just literally just came over off of the Associated Press. Did you hear anything about this? Because this literally just happened, within like the last hour or so.
Oh yeah. I can't go a couple hours without somebody sending me something. What do you think about this? So, yeah, I definitely saw it. Isn't today Jewish New Year?
Yeah, it's getting really started. Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, I think we're getting
Yeah.
started.
Isn't it? I know on the 2nd is the Feast of Trumpets that starts tomorrow. But isn't today the Jewish New Year, right?
Yeah, in that coincidental, you think?
Yeah, wow. I don't know, October 7th, 50 years, every 50 years they attack them, and then today is Jewish New Year, tomorrow's the start of the Feast of Trumpets, and so it's like, you know, I if people don't see this as really a holy war, it's not about survival, you know. Yeah, I don't know what to say, but, um gosh, man, we can talk like if we look back at all the time Iran has fired missiles at Israel. The first one was what was it, like 300 and something missiles they fired at once, and there was a lot of drones and other stuff in there too. But there was a couple of Arab children that were killed, and then the time before that, when Hezbollah was firing missiles from Gaza Strip, nobody, I don't think anybody got hurt, and they fired lots of missiles. It's just amazing to me to see how God looks after His people.
It is, and this is. Here's the interesting thing about this also too. We were talking about this earlier, in a show we were just doing a little while ago, is that Iran has never full frontal gone after Israel. Just never done that. They've always done somebody. They've used other people. This started about a year ago when we saw Hamas go after Israel, and when they did, we knew what was going on. That this is Iran that is going after Israel, and then Hezbollah just recently did the same thing, and Hezbollah found out really quickly that Iran is not messing around with them. or excuse me, that Israel's not messing around with them. Remember, it was the
Yeah,
pager. There was a pager thing, right? And they blew up all these
yeah,
pagers, and then they just killed the leader of Hezbollah like 2 or 3 days ago, something like that. So now Iran is going, well, we'll just do this, and we'll. For me, so give me your feedback on this, Aaron. What? Why would Iran be so stupid and try to go after a military that's far superior than what they're used to fighting?
you know, I mean, there's a spiritual aspect of it. I really believe that they think, God is with them, right? And they think that, Allah is their protector, and it's a holy thing, right? But what brazened them to do this? So they were broke. Iran was broke, and when Joe Biden came into office, he released billions of dollars to Iran. And as soon as that happened, you had Hezbollah and Hamas now funded by Iran. So when we left Afghanistan, if you look at the pictures after Hamas attacked Israel, if you look at the pictures, it's usually, I mean, there's AKs and stuff, but most of them are carrying M4s and American rifles. So when we left Afghanistan, not only did we leave all of our equipment, rifles, but we also left piles and piles of AKs that we took from the Taliban. I mean, we left piles and piles of weapons. I'll just tell you. But um, you know, now you have Iran funding these two groups, and I really believe they think that this is their inheritance, or their it's really to destroy the Israelis is what it is. And I mean, you can get much deeper in it. I think that whatever's behind them, let's say the Prince of Persia, okay, his goal is to change, to wipe out the Jews, just like it's happened over history with the Book of Esther and World War II. And if he can wipe out the Israels on their land, prophecy can't come to pass. I mean, I'm sure God would, but he'll protect his people because his book is going to be fulfilled.
See, so no matter what people believe, they've got to go by what facts are. I mean, you can be crazy, but you're gonna be, but most crazy people have a streak of smarts in them, and they've read the Bible too, and they're probably
Yeah.
thinking, oh well, our God is greater than your God. I go, wait a minute. But if you look at, we have a Bible that has never been wrong, right? Everything that has happened in the Bible, God said it's going to happen, has all come to pass. And his word says
Yeah.
that my word will not return to me void. Okay? It's not an idle word. It will accomplish that which it set out to do. And they can believe that the Mahdi will come back. Or I'm going, who's ever heard of the Mahdi? I mean, my gosh, it's like, that's like, So, anyways, um, I don't understand their logic because they know that Israel has never failed and they're not going to fail now. So that's what drives me crazy. So,
It is. It's true. I mean, if they can make the Bible seem, if they could make the Bible, if they could, like I said, if they could wipe out all the Jews and make the Bible not, like it's fake or false, they've won. It's not just that, oh, that was our land and we're taking it back. That's all just um, distraction. This is a distraction for the people to not see that God. I mean, tell me any nation on earth that was thrown out of their land, taken over by another country, and then came back in one day. There's not another nation on earth. There's not. So the Bible is definitely coming to pass, but like I said, they want to make it, seem false. But
so you said
it's
something very
their
interesting, Aaron.
land.
You said something very interesting, and this really goes along with, I mean, this story, this breaking story, does have something to do with prophecy. and the rationale between Israel or Iran and what they're doing. Prophecy, and we don't claim to know everything about the prophetic word, but we're getting to learn so much more. Um, Prophecy is not only um, "Thus saith the Lord," this is going to happen, as because I said, because I heard the Lord say this. Sometimes it is conditional. That prophecy is, guess if this happens, this is going to definitely happen. And do you think that Iran believes that, guess what? If we wipe out the Jews, that their Mahdi is going to come to fruition, or do they? So that's why my mind is going on this. What is their rationale between this? Because prophetically, certain things are going to happen in the end, right? We're going to see, you know, Russia. We're going to see China. We're going to see Turkey. That they're going to come together and they're going to come against Israel. Iran is in this whole mix too. Is this kind of the beginning stages of that? What do you think?
I definitely think I do think that this is the beginning stages, the birthing pains, right? Wars and rumors of wars. Um, man, that's a good question, right? Because there's so much that does still have to come to pass. The temple has to be built, and we know that it's getting close. But you know, I do think that their mindset behind is if we can take it and keep it, Bible prophecy won't come to pass. We can get rid of the Jews, annihilate the Jews, Bible prophecy won't come to pass. Then the Quran is correct, right? That we're going to take over everything and it's going to be us and we're going to kill all the non-believers in all the non-Muslims. But um you know, we just we can see over and over and over again in the Bible that that doesn't happen. What God says is going to happen. It's going to happen. And also, like we were talking about those statues a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the land being corrupted, and the land because of the inhabitants of the land. And so when they plant their mosque on the Temple Mount, we've taken this now, and if you destroy our mosque, oh well, the whole world is going to, oh, look at us. We were just Muslims. We're just peaceful Muslims who just, want a place to pray, but the Jews destroyed it, right? So taking the land, I was just think about Jeremiah. It's like here's the giants. Okay, we're well able to take the land, but God's like, okay, these people don't believe in it. They don't believe that they can. Only you two out of the 10 spies believe you can. So I need everybody to get in line, right? We need everybody to get in this mindset that the Bible is real and this is really God's word and it will come to pass. And so, it's just I do believe they think that taking the land, wiping out the Jews is going to mean that their Messiah, their Mahdi is going
Mhm.
to come and save, you know, just I don't really understand
Yeah.
the
I,
whole thing behind it, but I do believe that that's what they want.
yeah. So we're going to be doing a study, and Aaron and I were talking about this off the air before, on prophecy and the prophetic and stuff like that. So I'm looking at, and we're going to shift gears here in just a second, but I'm looking at Ezekiel 38. I don't see the Mahdi here anywhere in Ezekiel 38, where it's talking about the nations that are coming against Israel. It does talk about Gog and Magog. It talks about Persia, talks about Ethiopia. So Persia is Iran, and it talks about
Mhm.
Persia,
Iran,
Ethiopia,
right?
Libya. Yep, um, Libya. All of their in the shield, Gomer, all their troops, Tagarma. Okay, talks about all those nations coming in, and that's in Ezekiel 38. I don't see the Mahdi anyplace here, and I don't see that Israel is being wiped out by, and that none of this is going to happen. Okay, this stuff has not happened yet, but so maybe they should read the Bible and they would probably know that it's just not going to happen the way they think it is.
In geez, I can't remember exactly where it is, but Paul says, if anybody comes to you I don't care if an angel come I'll just give you the narrated version. Even if an angel comes to you and tells you something different than we've taught you, it's false, it's the enemy. And so 600 years after Jesus dies, an angel comes to Muhammad and tells him the Quran, right? 600 years, an angel comes and tells him something different than the Gospels. Well, obviously, Paul said it. Here it is. If this happens, watch out. But, it's turned into if you like any, man, I've been to the Middle East, you know, uh, and if you don't follow along, they'll cut your hands off. They'll kill your family if you don't get in line to what we want. They would never let a Christian be in their Senate or their House or their government. They would never let anybody who is not 100% ideological Muslim be in ruling. So, I mean, not only did an angel come to Muhammad, but it wasn't an angel, but tell him a different gospel. So if you don't believe it, we're going to kill you and we're going to kill your family. I mean, that just, to me, just the devil wants to oppress you. He wants to get you under his thumb so he can get what he wants done to change the timeline so prophecy doesn't happen. But you have a whole part of the world that just is stuck, oppressed, and they can't get out of it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But they will,
Anyways.
because there was actually a story well, we might get to it. I don't know if we're gonna have time to get to it today, but there's change is happening. It definitely is happening. So once again, folks, if you're just watching the show now, you're just tuning in. This is This Week in Prophecy. I'm Pastor Sherman. This is Aaron Newton, resident prophet. We're talking to you a little bit about what's going on, current events that are happening. If you've got any questions, go ahead and there's a comment section right below us here. Go ahead and leave a comment down there. We'd love to hear from you. And if you would like to write to us, go ahead and write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. Also, at the end of the show, we'll give you a little bit more information where you can actually get this broadcast and where you can actually find out a little bit more about this. Hey, Aaron, let's get to some prophetic stuff. We're gonna get to some prophetic stuff that
Okay.
you were praying about, and there was an email
Do
that
it.
you sent me, or excuse me, there was a text message you sent me, and you want to start with that one, or wherever you want to start?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So this one's
So
dated
this
February
was
or September.
the the last night before last, actually.
Yep, night before last.
So I saw this lawyer, and I was just watching in almost like a third person view, and I'm watching this courthouse, and this lawyer, and he was working really hard on like it almost looked like a bankruptcy case. That's what I got in the vision or the dream, or I got that he was working on a bankruptcy case for um a huge corporation. And I don't know if he was um I feel like he was working for the corporation to try to get um them, through the court system. And he was working really hard. He's telling people what to do, and he's like, "Hey, you take care of this, and you take care of this," and whatever it was. And so, as he is, talking to these people, and then all of a sudden it shifted, and he was on trial, and he was on trial for embezzling money. And in the case, I'm thinking like, wow, did he embezzle it from the company, or was he was a really bad guy? He seemed to have this great, like I'm the best paid lawyer for these financial systems. And then he was on trial and they were just hammering him. And then I could see the jury come in and gave him the guilty verdict. And I feel like I want to feel like you said 15 years or 20 years in prison or something. But the look on his face was it's what stood out to me, and I don't know if I can do it, but at first he was sad and crying, and then, like, he kinda went like, "Ooh," like, when they when they gave him the verdict, he was like, "Oh," just cringing like, "Oh, here it is." I had so much and, praying about it and really meditating all day, I know that, Paul says, "Pray without ceasing," so when I'm working and my job is technical, but I'm always still thinking about God and listening to things or the Bible, and it was like we're gonna see these things change. These men who we thought were just so great, and they're just doing these things for the country and for the people, but behind the scenes, they were dirty, right? And so you had mentioned the government thing, and I said, you know what it looks like to me is like Alvin Bragg or
Yeah.
that lady in Georgia.
Yeah.
Um,
Letitia James.
they try to Letitia James,
Yeah.
that's right. Like they're so upstanding and you know, but man, behind the scenes it is dark. And so anyways, yeah, that's what I saw. That's do you have any
So
what do
that
you
that's
what do you
interesting though, because when you sent this to me, and I'm looking at the text now, and I said, yeah, that sounds familiar. It sounds like the situation with the New York mayor, and he got indicted. It's the first time a sitting mayor for New York has ever been indicted. This guy has got some real, they call it splaining. He's got some splaining to do. He better explain why. What the heck are you doing? What are you thinking about? But we've got a lot of these people who are in seats of power, and they are, I think they think they're invincible until they are
Mhm.
invincible. We had the same thing with Diddy, right? Diddy,
Yeah.
Sean Puffy Diddy Combs, or whatever they want to call him now.
Mhm.
There are I can't imagine how many people in Hollywood are thinking, oh my gosh, are they going to find out about me, right? Because he knows where all he knows where all the bodies are buried at. He's got the video of it, and people are going, "Oh my gosh, why did I go there that night?" So yeah, I think you might be right on that.
I think so it was the 30th of August where I gave those two dreams, you know, um that I had texted you the other day, and I when I was doing something, it was like, you know, God's like, remember, remember, like I pray and I really put a lot of thought into these dreams because, of that in that actual show, I explained how he said put the dreams and the visions together and you'll see the story and then prophesy to the wind. So as I, go through and try to put them together how they fit in these pieces of the puzzle, it's like, okay, so August 30th, say these two dreams and say this one. So people kind of get an understanding, a sense of how I'm working with you, how he works with me, how he talks to me, how he listens. And, the just the fact that it was, you know, government people and then famous, Hollywood people, just to me, it's just truly God is amazing. But, this one with, so the mayor, right? So they also raided the chief of police, and then they went to raid one of the district attorneys, but he committed suicide before they came and raided his house. Do you know that? Yeah. So he's out there today saying I'm not guilty and this is all a sham and a farce, but yet they raided the chief of police and one of the district attorneys. They raided his house, but he committed suicide first before they got there. Like he knew it was coming. So do you remember the word I had given a couple weeks ago about how, prophecy will change now the dark roots are starting to be exposed? When that man falls, all the little tentacles, they're going to go out. Now it's up to us as the body to pray that, the exposure will keep happening. He tells us this so we as the body can pray and that's how we war, that's how we fight in the spiritual, that also in that 30th of August I also talked about how God was slicing people in the spirit and we're going to start to see them falling in the natural. And gosh, that was such a vivid dream. But
Yeah,
anyways,
one of the things, Aaron, that I noticed about what we're talking about here, and you didn't specifically say New York. Okay, you didn't specifically say that, but it seems to me like our
right.
conversation is revolving around New York. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are we talking about a lawyer in a particular locale or just a lawyer in particular?
That's funny, actually. I don't know. I just I didn't get that it was New York City. What I got was it was a high-powered, like, expensive attorney that, this is the guy that you want representing your company. And then, um, the when he was on trial, it was a big deal. Like, this was a big deal. Like, people took notice of this. It was on the news, and it was, you know what I mean? Like, I'm noticing, like, this is gonna be a big deal. It wasn't just like just some guy in Oklahoma City that got in trouble. This was like this was like a big deal. Could be New York, it could be Chicago. I mean, I didn't get a place, but what I knew, it was a big deal.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to put words in your mouth. So it might be. I mean, so so we it's something that we're going to probably see unfold here pretty quick. Or maybe not be quick, but it'll definitely unfold, and we'll actually be able to see this. I'm very excited about what this is going to entail because it's always. Now we were talking about this before. We talk a lot when we're not on the show here, folks. But some of the prophetic stuff that the Lord's given Aaron, we were talking about. And he's going, "Did you see that the Lord? This came true." And we might not even brought it back up in the show. And we're thinking about, we should bring this up at some point. But it'll be very interesting to see where this comes to pass at, and the timeline and who it was, and we'll try to remember what it is. Or let me put it this way: if you are watching this, somebody might be watching this broadcast right now, and this sounds familiar to you. Really, I encourage you, go ahead and write it in the comment section below us here, or write to us at This Week in Prophecy. Let us know, because nothing is more powerful than confirmed prophecy. I mean, we're getting a yes and an amen that something like this happened.
And you know what else too is I'm not I'm not the center of attention. I'm not the center of this. He talks to many people, and many people have the pieces. Yeah, I do you remember we talked about that one where those people were coming forward with information, and it was like they laid blueprints on the table. Do you remember we talked about that? Maybe it was last week, I think it was. But and sometimes I would see a man and sometimes I would see a woman, and they were like, bringing information to the government, but the government was still keeping them confined or hidden away. So the very next day, I was watching. Anyways, a couple days maybe it was, but I was watching somebody, and she was another prophet, and she's really well known in that circle. And she said, there's going to be people now starting to speak, and I'm like, oh yes, yes, confirmation. And she said, you had a meeting in New York with about this, what happened, and you laid out the blueprints. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is crazy. It's not about me or that person, or it's about God's glory. He's speaking to his people because, a lot of people say, well, I don't need any more. I have the Bible, or I don't need any more, whatever. No, he telling you because he loves you. This is like I'm telling my child how to walk, or how to do this. He's telling you, hey, there's going to be things you're going to see. There's going to be good things, bad things, but I'm fixing it right now. Right now, this is my time. Just be patient. Know that you're in that hedge. You're under my wing. Know that it's going to be okay. And I'm showing you what I'm doing right before I'm doing it, just so you build your faith, build
Oh,
people's
I
faith.
think
It's
that's it.
amazing.
Build your faith. My gosh, it's like kids. I think it would be great to have people say, "Oh yes, the Lord spoke to me, and He said jump into my arms, and I jumped off the bed into my arms." But the reality is people don't do that anymore. People are very skeptical, and God goes, "Well, let me show you something. Let me show you something just to
Yeah.
build your faith." And that's part of what prophecy is too. The word talks about faith and talks about in Hebrews. The faith is the evidence of things not seen. Okay, but faith is also going off of some things that you have seen, knowing that it will happen again because you've already seen it happen one time. Okay, so um, in prophecy is the same way. It builds your faith, and as people who are walking in this prophetic movement, when the word is confirmed by something that the Lord has spoken through you, it makes you as the prophetic person go, "Yes, I heard that from God." And now now you're waiting. Okay, God, what else is going on? What else is going on? I know you're speaking to me. Now I'm listening, right? Now I've got attentive ears. And that's pretty cool, right? Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, it really is amazing. Like, people I think a lot of people's I mean, this is the body is divided on different views and theology and stuff, which, I get it. We're human but, it's like he's showing these things to get you to come back, right? Stop looking backwards. Like he's saying to me, stop looking back at the way the church was in the 80s and 90s and 50s. We're moving forward. We need to look forward. If you keep look at what happened to Lot's wife. Don't look back. It's time for you to move forward. She looked back, turned into a pillar of salt, gone. But that's really what he's been telling me lately. Stop looking back. Stop looking about what I did with you 4 years ago. We're going forward. Stop, look,
I like
some
that.
people would say, "Well, I like this the way it was," but you didn't get the job done. Now I'm gonna show you a new way to get the job done. And I think people need to just sometimes stop and listen and stop speaking uh, you know, uh, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I need to preach, and so I'm going to talk the whole time. But sometimes you need to. He wants to talk to you. He wants to tell you something to say, and so you need to just stop and listen because he will speak to you. He speaks to his people. It's amazing.
That is very good. Wow, praise God. For those of you, this might be the
Yeah.
first time you're watching the show. This is This Week in Prophecy. Um, and Aaron and I are just talking about some of the cool things that God is doing within the body. Aaron, let's go and turn the corner. And I know you had another prophecy that we've got a couple of prophecies
Yeah.
we want to get in. Um, and uh, let Before we do that though, there was an article that I want to just squeeze in here, and
Sure.
the article was basically it was in the Associated Press, and the Associated Press was polling people, asking them about their views about the president and about former President Trump and about Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, and they were asking people, do they think these people are particularly Christians? And a
Mm.
plurality of people basically said, no, we don't think they're Christians, and probably they don't stand by our view of Christianity. They didn't believe Trump was a Christian. They didn't believe Kamala Harris was a Christian, basically. Um, so I need to get your feedback on this, because there is never, I don't ever recall there ever being anybody in history who was quote unquote a born again Christian. They ran as that's who I am. There might have been people who were Christians, but we didn't know that they were born again Christians. Is that a deal breaker, or are we looking for somebody who has enough of the qualities as opposed to somebody who's perfect? Because we're never going to find a perfect person. But give me your feedback, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. Give me some of your thoughts, and what you believe we're looking for in a presidential candidate.
Well, I really dislike polls because who are they asking? Are they asking? And if they're asking Christians, okay, now who are they asking? But just we'll just say, okay, so this is what they all said. He's not a Christian. Trump's not a Christian. Kamala, I don't ever think she ever said she was a Christian. I think she was talking about how she celebrates Kwanzaa and all these things. And I don't know. I don't really think she. But in a person, let's look at who God uses to, right. Cyrus was definitely not a believer in God, but God used that man, right? Because he was just. He was just to to the Jews. Now, Trump, on the other hand, we can say I heard a video of him actually not too long ago saying that he was a Christian and he reads the Bible and he does pray, you know? And but then again, I also heard a video and a very prominent person in Christian. I wouldn't say that I agree with his a lot of his views on things. I mean, we both can agree that Christ is the center of our faith. But he made a video saying, "Trump, you're not a Christian, and you're gonna go to hell." You know, and I thought to myself, like, I just, wow. However you came to, I mean, it was a long video, but anyways, my point is, we're looking for the most just person. Okay, we're looking for a person that has values like ours. Just because somebody says they're a Christian, Obama went to church. You know, he went to the church at the on the grounds of the White House. So just because somebody says they're a Christian, it's more like I'm looking for somebody who is a righteous man. Like I said
All right.
again,
Yeah.
now does he have those qualities? I definitely do believe that. I hear lots of stories of him helping people, giving money to people that are down and out. I hear stories, I hear about, just look at the things that he did. He didn't try to enrich himself. He didn't even take a paycheck. He just said, "I care for the American people and I want to do right by them." Now, to me, that's a just person.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't, it's, you know, can I take, I don't, I just don't like polls. I think there's a lot of misrepresentation in polls. Right now Kamal is leading the nation in her votes, but I saw a video today of, uh, who was it? It was, um, Waltz going to a football game, and there was so many people cursing at him and just like, "Get out of here." And then I saw on that same video showed Trump at a football game, and the whole stadium was clapping and standing their feet. I'm sure there was some people
I
that
I
didn't want him
saw
there,
that.
but
No, that
the
was like a
majority.
what a
You saw that video?
response. Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, come on. How can they be leading in the polls? That's craziness. But,
Yeah, this is very interesting.
you take it for what it is.
You mentioned something about a person being just. Many of us follow Jonathan Cahn, who's a prophetic,
Yeah.
pastor. And one of the things that he said about Donald Trump was that Donald Trump was the modern day version of the Old Testament King Jehu or Yehu, and who a
Mhm.
lot of the things that he did in the Old Testament are the same things that Trump did as, as a modern day president. And the Lord used them both. I mean, the Lord used Trump during the modern day, and he used Jehu in the Old Testament. And so, but I think, and here's something John Hagee does this, and a lot of other pastors do this. So we're not. This show is not here to tell you to vote for, folks. So we can't tell you to vote for, but we can tell you some of the qualities of people who you probably should vote for. And one of the things I think we would agree on is that you need to vote the Bible. Okay, vote the Bible. If you don't remember anything else we say here today, if the person that you are voting for is diametrically opposed to biblical principles, that's probably not the person you should vote for. No matter if they're the sex you like, not if they're the color you like, whatever they like, rich man, poor man, if they are diametrically opposed to what the Bible says, that is not the person who should vote. You should lead this country. And so, and I think if you just brought it down to that, you probably narrow this down pretty quickly on who you should vote for or not. So, um,
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Sherman, you have to look at the person's heart. That's what God does. He's not looking for the most he's not looking for the most learned person or the most, ritualistic person. He's looking at somebody's heart. Are you going to do what I tell you? Are you going to obey me? Are you going to actually enrich my people's life, or are you going to be a burden to them? Are you going to put another yoke on them? And I mean, that's really all we can ask for. I don't a lot of people have these standards of what somebody should be, and if Trump doesn't live up to that standard, well, he's not a Christian. I mean, man, that guy put out a video and it was horrible. I thought to myself, "You are a bad person." You know?
so
I
you're
I
just
thought
a bad
something else,
person.
but I thought you're a bad person. I mean, but the point is that we have come with these standards of what somebody is supposed to be like, and instead, like, what does their heart say? Their heart says, the Bible is a book about how God loves us. It's not just black and white. Like if you read it and understand it, it is God loving the Israelites over and over. And okay, now you've done this. I'm gonna take you away, but I'll bring you back. And then again, first it was 70 years, and then 400 years, and now 2,000 years. But I'm gonna bring you back because this was my promise. I love you. And we don't really, I think a lot of people don't understand what love is because their father or their mother taught them a different way. And so for them, that's love. But yet I've realized that, oh my goodness, Sherman, I gotta tell you, man. The other day I watched this thing, and I'll just give me a second here. Let me tell this because this is amazing. This man had a near death experience, and on that near death experience, he was standing in front of Jesus, and Do you have? Jesus said to him, "Do you have any questions?" He's like, "Yeah." And he said, "If I talked about all the things that he had told me, it would take years." But he said, "Well, I want to go to heaven. I don't." He's like, "No, you got to go back. God has a plan for you." And he's like, "All right, well, what is it?" He's like, all I want you to do is love somebody. Love that person next to you. Love your wife, whatever, whoever it is, and show them love, and then let that person learn what love is really like. And he's like, God, the world, Jesus, the world is evil and stuff. He's like, I don't care. That's all you have to do. That's God's plan, not anything else. God's plan was you love the person next to you, and they will learn and move on. He said, when I woke up in the hospital, I told my wife, I tried to give her the condensed version is everything is about love. Everything is about love. And so he said, ever since that, he tried to teach his kids, his wife, he said his wife left him. His kids don't want to talk to him. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't have any family now because of that. He said his wife turned his kids against him because he he realized that, this is God's plan. He's like, I was a zealot for this. And now everybody hates me because all I've done. And it's like we see how ingrained the enemy is in everything, everything around us. How can you show love to people and now they don't want to be a part of your life? And it's like we really, because we don't understand. A lot of people, their father was mean to them, but that's how they showed love. I have a dream I was going to say today with this. Let me just give it and we'll go move on to whatever.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I was
definitely. Sure, go
standing
for it.
and
Mhm.
I was standing watching this man's life, and I could it was, a lot of my dreams are like in this third person watching people. And I was watching this man's life and he's going through his day, but the atmosphere around him was, oh, you went off, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So anyways, I'm watching this man's life and it's just dark. There's darkness around him. Everything is like a heavy yoke, you could say. But in his mind, he's thinking this is just the way it is. This is the way life is, and it's always going to be dark. And I knew that he didn't know Jesus. He didn't know anything about that. But as he's going through his life, it's almost like he radiates this dark waves, this black smoke off his life. And I felt the sadness in him. I could feel in the dream the sad, um, this I can't explain it. It was just depression and sadness. But he kept going because that's the way he thought it was. This is the way life is. But I knew that, you know, this is the way people are today. They have that darkness around them and they don't even know. They're just, well, I'm going to get up today, I'm going to spend the day with my wife and my kids and, or whatever it is, but there's no light, there's no joy. Everything is dark and wavy because that's the way they thought it was. And I'm watching this life. It was really amazing. I could feel his emotions and I could feel that he, the sadness and the frustration and the it's pointless, but I'm gonna keep going because that's just the way it is. Anyways, when I heard that man's testimony, I was just amazed, like how nobody wanted to have anything to do with him. So,
Yeah, and like you said,
anyways,
Jesus Christ is love, right? And so he lost his entire family because he was showing the love of Jesus Christ. Huh?
yeah,
Yeah,
he
it's
was.
amazing, amazing,
So,
amazing.
let's
Well,
move on a little bit. Let me
yeah.
put these two out because
Okay.
I know time is getting short. So,
Oh yeah.
this one was May 30th of 2024,
Okay.
and I was and it kind of goes along with what we were just talking about. So, I was living in this neighborhood, and I remember the neighborhood was very hilly, and there was on the hills, on top of these hills, were like, big buildings and stuff. But it was a neighborhood. It kind of reminds me of like LA, like the East LA, the way the houses are go up on the hills, and it's kind of like levels. Anyways, so these two Buddhist monk women came to my house to like evangelize me for this for the their Buddhist faith. And I'm just like, "Do you speak English?" And one of them's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, look, I'm a Christian. So, you want to talk about that? Then we'll do that." Anyways, so I asked her, "You speak English?" She said, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, good. So I'm a Christian, and we'll just move on from there." So she said, "Well, we're gonna leave because they didn't want to talk about it." And I'm like, "We're gonna go back to our monastery," they said, which was up on one of these hills. And I said, "Can I come talk to you? Can I come over there and talk to you?" And she said, "Yeah." So it seemed like a couple hours went by, and I went up there, and when I walked in the monastery, it wasn't just Buddhists. There was Hindus and Muslims and all these other faiths. And when I walked in, I could feel them hate. They just instantly hated me. And I could feel them watching me and looking at me with, just, ugh, get out of here. And so I'm trying to talk to these girls and I'm trying to tell them about Jesus, like, you're looking for enlightenment, but Jesus is your light. You think that, over the time of meditating and praying and trying to reach this, your traditions are tough. And there's a lot of I don't even know how to say it, like things that you go through that are hard and they're unnecessary because Jesus is your life and he'll give you freedom. And as I'm talking to this lady, I look and there's like a window in a wall. It kind of looked like a medieval castle, and there was like a window, and it was just a wall. It was a window to the outside, and as I'm looking through it, I can see the next hill over. There was an old church, like looked like from the 1800s, and it had the steeple, the front like that, and there was a steeple, and there was a cross on top. And as I'm looking at this church, I saw it crumble, and then it was a vision. I was having a vision of this church in my dream, and then as I'm talking to those women, 5 minutes later, the church actually did crumble. And so but it took, I saw the vision, 5 minutes later, it did crumble. And so, like, oh my goodness, And what I'm seeing is God is saying, like, I'm gonna rebuild it all. Like, I'm gonna tear it back down to the foundation, and I'm gonna build up this, almost in a new imagine all of the what do you call it? Like, Azusa Street and the Welsh and the Scottish, all these revivals in one. And I'm gonna build it, and it's gonna be even more amazing. Like we talked about earlier, stop looking back. It's time to look forward. It's time to look forward to what I'm doing. So
No, it's very interesting you would say that because there's a um, w- just recently there was an article, there was a video of Pope Francis, and he had gone to a some convention or something like that, some ecumenical thing where a bunch of different religions were there, and he made a statement that was just that it just your heart goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe he actually said this. And he basically said that all roads lead to the same place. All of our religions were, and like I said, he had Buddhists, kind of what you're saying. He had Buddhists, he had Hindus, he had all these other groups together. And he says, all of you think that, he said, my religion is no better than your religion. We're all the same. and we all are going to the same God, and so we're all good. We just misunderstand each other. And everybody goes, I cannot believe this guy just said this, because a Muslim is not worshiping the same God as a Christian. A Hindu is he's got multiple gods. He could have 100, 1,000, a
Hmm.
pantheon of gods. And now you got this the leader of the Catholic you know uh, denomination saying, "Oh, we're all good though," and that kind of goes along with what you're saying, is that and it's funny that you were saying there was a woman who was a part of this thing, right? That was at the center of this
Yeah, it
vision
was
you
two
had.
women.
Two women
Hmm.
who are
Yeah.
at the center of this vision. The Bible talks about end time prophecy, and it's talking about a woman in the end time prophecy also. And if you look in the book of Revelation, it talks about this woman and a dragon. Okay, I've got to remind myself about the whole series of things. But Catholicism talks about is described as a woman in some terms. I'm not saying that the Catholics are the end time prophecy church. A lot of people would argue with me on that. But do you think that this vision that you had has anything to do with end time prophecy also?
I think that, oh my goodness. So what I see in that, through, of course, through praying and and meditating on it, is that, um so think about the man in gosh, Gadara, I think it was, the man who was, they had to keep him in chains, and he would break the chains, and Jesus went in the boat to heal that man. And but all the people said, "You got to get out of here. You can't do this here." Well, why did they do that? The enemy he had his stronghold there. So he saw that Jesus, you know, um, healed and drove out the demons, but the demons, all the rest of them were like, no, no, this is my place. So that, end time prophecy like that, they have their 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 many gods. We have one God, right? We have one triune God. And but they have many. And so what are those many? You got to think, there's many demons and there's many principalities over many regions, and you have the, like just talk about the Prince of Persia. That's one high principality who rules over his minions, in different areas, however you want to say it. But when they get their foothold in one place, then, well, you need a God for this, and you need a God for that, and you need a God for that. So you're going to pray to this, this one and this one and this one. And we know that it's dark, and but the way that they make us feel like this is the, uh, you know, oh, you can't hurt other people's religion. Well, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just telling you the truth. But that one world religion, like you said, that monastery had all the different religions living in it, except for the Christians who was on the other hill. Do I believe that's trying to become a one world religion? You know, I'm sure they're going to take from everything to make this
Oh yeah,
one world religion end
I do.
times thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that when God pours out his spirit, he's going to pour out his spirit on all his people, right? Even the Catholics,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see them in their churches prophesying, speaking in tongues, healing, because those are his people too. They have a heart for him. Not everybody, like there's people that are bad everywhere, but there's that little woman who prays for her son every day, that goes to Catholic mass. She's gonna have a she's gonna have an experience with Jesus just the same way that I do. It's the heart that he's looking for. So
I
I
believe
don't
you
know.
are.
It could
Yeah,
be.
yeah. Because when you were saying that, I thought, boy, this sure sounds very familiar to me. Sounds like the harlot, that the Lord was talking about,
Yeah.
and it's something we definitely want to explore. Aaron, we probably just about one more minute, and because we're going to be running a little long here, and I
Oh no.
I'm going to try to bring us back here. Hang on one second there.
Hmm.
And okay, let's see. All right, so once again, so I'm sorry. I want to apologize because I know the microphone went dead and I just noticed it, but something happened and went crazy on us. But there was an article, and it said that a growing number of Christians are are viewing pornography. And here's the scary part about it is that many of them don't believe that this is a problem. Now, it's one thing that the world doesn't care that they're viewing pornography, but that the people in the church are saying that's all right if we're viewing pornography. So, Aaron, I kind of want to just get your feedback on has the Lord been telling you anything about this? And, um, you know, give me some feedback on that.
Is that Miss Ray texting you?
I don't know.
Okay. So here's so this is something that I dealt with many years ago, and you know, just like everybody else, it is just widespread, and it started with our movies and TV. If you told somebody 50 years ago or uh, 70 years ago, if you showed them a movie from today, they'd be like, "Oh, that's crazy." Back in the 50s, people didn't even share a bedroom. They had different beds. But what does Jesus say about if you even look at a woman with lust in your eyes, you've already committed adultery? Okay. So, I mean, to me, that's pretty clear cut. Like, here it is. So you're watching these people do this. Now you're bringing it into your eye, so ears to hear and eyes to see. Now you're looking at that, and this is now what's in your mind, and so you've committed adultery with with that. And I mean, I don't I don't understand how men of God or women for that matter could say this is okay, because on the other hand, those a lot of those women are being trafficked. They're being they're not it's a bad thing. There's a bad thing behind it, right? So just like, choosing somebody who's just and righteous, you have to think of those values in everything you do. Does me watching this, I mean, that poor girl, who knows what they did to her before to get her to make that movie or that man or whatever. And I saw a not a documentary, but this guy was doing studies, and he said whenever they had a big Christian gathering in Vegas, like at the convention center, and they did a study, and all the hotel rooms, the the porn bill went way up when Las Vegas was full of these Christian men and women. And I'm like, first of all, why would you come to Vegas? We secondly, yeah, secondly, oh my goodness, these are like big name people with big oh my goodness, what's going on? You know what I mean? So
I know that's
it's
the
just
crazy
that's
thing
not
about it.
right. Not
And
right.
that is something that we are going to have to explore in our next show because I'll tell you, I think just the amount of exposure that Christians are exposed to the world, I think we think that we are immune to it, but we're not. Amen. We're just not immune to it, and it's something that the evil one is going to use in these final days to continue to come after the church. So it is what it is. Aaron,
You
once again, I know we could go on with this. We're gonna have to end the show right now, but once
okay?
again, I want to thank you once again. We will be back again with you next week, and we'll talk more about what the Lord is doing in the world of prophecy, folks. If you would like to get a hold of Aaron or myself, go ahead and write to us. At thisweekinprophecy at gmail.com. It's thisweekinprophecy at gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you. Aaron, we'll see you again next week, okay, brother?
All right, buddy.
All right, we'll see you later.
Okay, bye.
And once again, folks, I want to thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. It's been Pastor Sherman for This Week in Prophecy. And once again, if you'd like to, if this is something that you would like to write to us about, you want to get more information for us, just write to us at thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. That's thisweekinprophecy@gmail.com. You can also get a download of this show on Spotify or Apple Podcast. We'd love for you to get that. And you can get it on Godstream also. Okay? So anyways, this has been Pastor Sherman Ray for This Week in Prophecy. Thank you for once again for being a part of the show. We will see you again next week for more of the show.